February 20th, 2026. Undisclosed location, Middle East. Over 120 American combat aircraft had landed in the region within the past 72 hours, the largest surge of U.S. air power in the Middle East since the 2003 Iraq War. F-22 Raptors, F-35 Lightning IIs, F-15E Strike Eagles, F-16 Fighting Falcons, E-3 Sentry AWACS command and control aircraft, all supported by cargo planes and aerial refueling tankers that cross the Atlantic in waves. This isn't a rotation, this is a surge. Flight tracking data shows departures from bases across the United States and Europe. Sustained, coordinated, deliberate. Meanwhile, satellite imagery confirms the USS Abraham Lincoln carrier strike group is already operating in the Arabian Sea off the coast of Oman, strike range of Iran. And the USS Gerald R. Ford, fresh from operations in the Caribbean, is steaming east across the Atlantic. Last known position off the coast of Morocco. 2 carrier strike groups, over 120 aircraft, guided missile destroyers armed with Tomahawk cruise missiles, air defense batteries, command and control systems, everything is in place. And in Washington, President Trump just set the clock. So now we may have to take it a step further, or we may not. Maybe we're going to make a deal. You're going to be finding out over the next probably 10 days. 10 days? That's it. The countdown has begun, and the military is ready. This is what happens when diplomacy runs out of time. The ultimatum didn't come out of nowhere. For months, negotiations between the United States and Iran have dragged on. Talks in Geneva, mediated by Oman, focused on one issue: Iran's nuclear program. The Trump administration wants Iran to stop enriching uranium, dismantle its stockpile, accept international inspections, guarantee it will never develop nuclear weapons. Iran's response? No. Tehran insists its nuclear program is for energy, not weapons. It refuses to halt enrichment. It refuses to surrender its uranium. And it rejects any deal that doesn't include the lifting of U.S. economic sanctions. The talks have gone nowhere. Trump's patience ran out on February 20th. Standing in front of reporters, he delivered the ultimatum. So now we may have to take it a step further, or we may not. Maybe we're going to make a deal. You're going to be finding out over the next probably 10 days. He paused, then added, "They can't have a nuclear weapon. It's very simple, they can't have it. You can't have peace in the Middle East if they have a nuclear weapon." Translation: Iran either agrees to U.S. terms or the military strikes. This isn't the first time Trump has ordered action against Iran. Last June, during a 12-day conflict between Iran and Israel, Trump authorized Operation Midnight Hammer. 7 B-2 Spirit stealth bombers, escorted by F-35s and F-22s, struck 3 Iranian nuclear facilities: Fordow, Natanz, Esfahan. Bunker-busting bombs weighing 30,000 pounds each penetrated deep underground. The strikes completely obliterated key enrichment sites. Iran retaliated. Ballistic missiles rained down on Al Udeid Air Base in Qatar, the largest U.S. military installation in the Middle East. Qatari air defenses intercepted most of them, no American casualties. The conflict ended after 12 days. But the nuclear program didn't. Satellite imagery from late January 2026 shows Iran has been rebuilding. Concrete shields poured over damaged facilities, tunnel entrances buried and fortified, missile bases repaired. Iran learned from the June strikes. And now it's preparing for the next round. The military buildup is staggering. Retired Marine Colonel Mark Kansian, now a senior advisor at the Center for Strategic and International Studies, told reporters, "The United States is doing all the things it would do if it were going to conduct some sort of attack. The deployment includes some of the most advanced combat aircraft in the world. F-22 Raptors, air superiority fighters designed to dominate the skies. Stealth technology that makes them nearly invisible to radar. Super cruise capability that lets them fly supersonic without afterburners. Their job? Clear the airspace, eliminate any Iranian jets that attempt to intercept the strike package, F-35 Lightning IIs, fifth-generation stealth fighters with advanced sensor and radar-evading capabilities. In Operation Midnight Hammer, F-35s suppressed Iranian air defenses, clearing the path for B-2 bombers. They'll do the same job again if ordered. F-15E Strike Eagles, twin-engine, two-seat bombers capable of carrying over 23,000 pounds of ordnance. Precision-guided munitions, bunker busters, long-range missiles. These aircraft can hit targets deep inside Iran and fight their way back out. F-16 Fighting Falcons, multi-role fighters that provide close air support, strike capability, and defensive coverage. E-3 Sentry AWACS aircraft, airborne command and control platforms with massive rotating radar domes mounted on top. These planes can track hundreds of targets. CMU, 6:18 a.m., April 28, 2026. Thomas Shelby. But the real question is where the bombers will launch from. Diego Garcia, a tiny atoll in the middle of the Indian Ocean, over 1,000 miles south of India, home to a joint US-UK military base. The island has a 12,000-foot runway capable of handling the heaviest bombers in the U.S. arsenal, B-2 Spirits, B-52 Stratofortresses, B-1 Lancers. It's the perfect staging point for strikes on Iran, close enough to reach targets, far enough to be safe from retaliation. But there's a problem. Diego Garcia is British territory. The UK leases the base to the United States under a defense agreement, but that agreement requires British approval for offensive military operations. And UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer just said no. According to reports in British media, Starmer informed Trump that the US cannot use Diego Garcia or RAF Fairford in the UK for strikes on Iran. His reasoning: it would violate international law. Trump didn't take it well. He immediately withdrew US support for the UK's plan to transfer sovereignty of the Chagos Islands, which includes Diego Garcia, to Mauritius. On February 19th, Trump posted on Truth Social, "Do not give away Diego Garcia." He accused Starmer of making a big mistake and warned that the base would be needed for any future operation to counter Iran. The dispute puts the UK in an awkward position. London is trying to balance its alliance with the United States against its commitment to international law. But for the Pentagon, the message is clear. If Diego Garcia is off limits, bombers will have to launch from elsewhere. Alternatives exist. Al Udeid Air Base in Qatar, bases in the United Arab Emirates, potentially even aircraft carriers if the strike package can be modified. But Diego Garcia was the ideal option. Now it's complicated. On February 19th, Iran announced joint naval exercises with Russia in the Sea of Oman and northern Indian Ocean. The drills began immediately. Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov issued a warning. Any U.S. strike on Iran would have serious repercussions. He didn't elaborate, but the implication was clear: Russia is watching. Iran also issued a notice to airmen for rocket launches over southern Iran, live fire drills. And it temporarily closed parts of the Strait of Hormuz, one of the most strategically vital shipping routes in the world. Over 20% of global oil supplies pass through the Strait of Hormuz every day. Closing it, even temporarily, sends a message. Iran controls access to the Persian Gulf. And if war breaks out, that control becomes a weapon. Satellite images from late January show Iran has been fortifying key sites. At the Parchin military complex, Iran built a concrete shield over a new facility and covered it with soil. The site was reportedly bombed by Israel in 2024. Now it's rebuilt and reinforced. At Fordow, one of the nuclear sites hit during Operation Midnight Hammer, Iran has buried tunnel entrances and fortified access points. At Natanz, another bombed site, Iran has repaired damage and added additional layers of protection. Analysts believe Iran has moved critical assets deeper underground, harder to detect, harder to target, harder to destroy. Professor Vali Nasser from Johns Hopkins University warned, "The Iranians have rebuilt in the past 6 months in a stealthy way. They've taken things further underground. They're going to be unpredictable. They could go big at the beginning, or they might want to drag the United States into a protracted situation. You hit a tanker, or you hit an oil facility, or you hit an American ship, and then it's up to President Trump to go to the next level." His conclusion? We are in a scenario where this might get out of control very quickly. Iran's defensive strategy is multi-layered. Mines in the Strait of Hormuz, anti-ship missiles along the coast, submarines patrolling the Persian Gulf, drones capable of swarming U.S.